we are picking up, I believe, on page 1206. This is Act 3, Scene 2, line 124, I believe is where we left off, or very close to that. Titania has bottom, and this is right after they talk a little bit about love and such. And she tells Bottom, out of this wood do not desire to go. Thou shalt remain here whether thou wilt or no. That is, whether you want to or not, you're stuck. Why? I am a spirit of no common rate. And the summer is still to tend upon my state, and I do love thee. Therefore go with me. She's telling him, you are now my slave. You are now under, on the other side. You are now under my control. Okay? So she gets these other fairies to come in, and they come in and they all serve Bottom. Okay? And they leave to go off and find some place to sleep. Scene 2. Oberon comes in. And Oberon says, I wonder if Titania be awake. Now, again, when he says this, he's all alone. So there's nobody for him to be saying this to. So he says it to the audience. He says it to the audience. I don't think it was this class. I think it was my first class. On Friday, I mentioned, to give an example of what actors can do, how they can interact with an audience. In 2002, my wife and I were in London. I was doing some research, and she came along for a week or so, something like that. And we saw Midsummer Night's Dream at the Globe. We got groundling tickets, so we were in the yard. And she's pretty short. She'd make a good Hermia. And we were right dead center at the stage. I mean, we got there early enough to get that spot. And she's standing there literally like this. I mean, the stage is right up to her chin. And the guy who's playing Oberon, the actor named Paul Higgins, I've never seen him in anything else. I've not seen him in any films. Pretty much, I guess, all the theater actor. Scots guy, and just gorgeous. I mean, really, really handsome. And this thick Scottish accent that my wife just, melts like butter. And he comes out and he sees us, and she's like this. And he comes out and he gets to like a foot away, down on his knees, so like this to her face, and says, I wonder if Titania be awake. And I'm standing there, kind of smiling. And my wife says, yes. And he starts ad-libbing for about 2 to 3 minutes. He doesn't say the next line. He's like, no. She's like, no, he can't be. Yeah, she is. 3,000 eyes, just focused right there. And I'm like, Karen, shut up, Because they often record those performances and then later on sell them as DVDs. That entire run they never recorded, which is a shame because it's probably the best, not because of that, but the whole production was probably the best Midsummer Night's Dream I've ever seen, and I've seen quite a few. So, I wonder if Titania be awake. Then, what it was that next came in her eye, which she must dote on in extremity. Now, he doesn't know, but when he asked that question, the audience out there does know, because they've already seen it. So Puck comes in. My mistress with a monster is in love. Notice, when he puts the juice in her eyes, and when he first tells Puck what he's going to do, he's thinking an animal, an ape, a monkey, a leopard, a cheetah, a bear, a bull, a boar, etc. A monster. Why does Puck say it's a monster? Not human, holy, not animal, holy. A chimera, a mixture of the two. That's monstrous, okay? So, he talks about, who he got and what they were doing there, putting on the play of Pyramus and Thisbe and such. He says, I put an ass's head on his own, and, etc. Titania waked and straightway loved an ass. This falls out better than I could devise. This is even better than I planned. But hast thou yet latched the Athenians' eyes with the love juice as I did bid thee to? Why does he ask the second question regarding Demetrius? Who's Demetrius to Oberon? He's nobody. So why does he care? He wants, for some reason, unexplained, he wants to make sure or ensure that true love is reciprocated. True love on Helena's part. We're not going to find out until we get to Act 4, Scene 1 of Act 4, a little detail that's been left out until then. And it's regarding Demetrius and Helena. Okay? So, did you put the love juice on the Athenians' eyes like I told you to? He says, yeah, I took him sleeping, and with the Athenian woman by his side, so that when he waked, of force she must be eyed, meaning seen. Demetrius and Hermia come in. This is the same Athenian, that is, here's the man, Puck. This is the woman, but not this the man. That is, this is the woman I saw sleeping next to an Athenian youth, but this isn't the man, meaning this isn't the one whose eyes I anointed. So they stand aside. Demetrius, oh, why rebuke you him that loves you so? Lay breath so bitter on your bitter foe. Now I but chide, but should I use thee worse? For thou, I fear, hast given me cause to curse. If thou hast slain Lysander in his sleep, bring o'er shoes and blood, plunge in the deep, and kill me too. Okay? Why did Demetrius go in the wood? That is Demetrius, right? Yeah. To follow Hermia and Lysander. Hermia and Lysander went into the wood to get married, to go to Lysander's aunt's house. Demetrius follows them because he loves Hermia. Okay? Hermia, at this point, loves Lysander. In fact, throughout everything that happens, Hermia's love for Lysander never changes. And notice, throughout all that happens, Helena's love for Demetrius never changes. It's these two whose loves alter and change. Okay? So they talk quite a bit. They go back and forth. Hermia wants to know, where's Lysander? What have you done with him? Remember when she fell asleep, Lysander was over there, she was over here. They swore these kind of marriage oaths to each other, that their love for the other would only end with each one's death, so to speak. And now she woke up after Lysander left. Line 115 following at the end of Act 2. Okay? Lysander woke up when Helena came in and shook him, fell in love with her, went off after her. Hermia wakes up, has a vision, a dream, had a vision or dream, that a serpent ate her breast, and she's like, where's Lysander? And she says at the end of that dream, when she's waking up, she's going to go look for him and says, either death or you I'll find immediately. This is going to be important, coming up very quickly. Okay? So, if I don't find you, I will find death. If I can't have you, I'd rather die. All right? So, they go back and forth. She thinks Demetrius has done something to Lysander. He's like, I wouldn't touch him, etc. Okay? She leaves, line 81, Act 3, Scene 2. And Demetrius is tired out, so he lays down and falls asleep. Oberon, we don't have a stage direction, but it probably would be appropriate for Oberon and Demetrius to be standing at the back of the stage, near the entrance and exit doors at this point. So they now step forward. Oberon, what hast thou done? And that's how he ought to say it. He's angry. Thou hast mistaken quite, and laid the love juice on some true love's sight. What true loves? Lysander's for Hermia. Does he know that he's done that? In other words, has Puck said, oh, I didn't put the love juice in his eyes, meaning Demetrius is right here. He hasn't come out and literally verbally said that. He's just said, this isn't the man. So, if this isn't the man, then you must have, Oberon is reasoning, you must have put the love juice in some true lover's sight. So, thou hast mistaken quite and laid the love juice on some true love's sight. Of thy misprision must perforce ensue. Misprision, mistake. Prision, though, has to do with sight. Misseeing. Okay? Misprecision would be another way of looking at it also. Must perforce ensue some true love turned, and now the false turned true. So what's the true love turned? It's this. I'm going to remove this one and do this. It had been this way, but now it's turned. So if it's turned, it's what? It's no longer straight. It's no longer perfect. Now it's bent. And not a false turned true. See, he wanted Demetrius's false love, okay, for Hermia to be turned true. He's suggesting, Oberon is, to Demetrius, from the opening of the play, okay, until at least this point, isn't seeing the way he's meant to see. Or he's not seeing the way he should be seeing. What he sees now, his so-called love for Hermia, is false. It's not real. It's not true love, okay? Which is why we're going to see that get destroyed, and ultimately that's going to be destroyed, and this will be repaired. So, Puck. Then fate overrules. That is, if some false love has turned true and not a false one restored, or some true love has been turned false and not a false one turned true, then it's fate's fault. And what did we learn from the two Oedipus plays about fate? You can't escape it. If it's fate, it's going to happen. He's saying this was fated to happen. Then fate overrules that one man holding troth, okay, that is, for each man keeping true faith in love, your gloss says, or another way of putting it, being totally faithful in love, totally loyal, totally true in love, 1,000,000 fail. Confounding oath on oath. What does it mean, confounding oath on oath? Your gloss says breaking. They'll make one oath, one promise after another. Okay? People who get married, multiple, and I don't mean 2 or 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. And they have, quote unquote, a religious ceremony every time, swearing to God until death do us part, or until a better, model comes across, the line, so to speak. What's Puck saying about human relationships and human possibilities for true, faithful love? It's a one in a million shot. Make it very encouraging to try to go down that route? Not really. He's saying humans, what? They lie. They're unfaithful. You cannot trust them. Oberon doesn't really take that. It says, go about the wood, and find Helena of Athens. Okay. Notice he didn't tell Puck before the names of the people. Find Helena of Athens, all fancy 6 years and pale of cheer, sighs of love, etc., etc. By some illusion, bring her here. Okay? Why? I'll charm his eyes against she do appear, so that against opposing him, when she appears, he'll wake up and be in love with her. Page 1210 in the 11th edition. But I'll go. So, Demetrius is asleep, and Oberon puts the juice in his eyes. And notice what he says. Flower of this purple dye, hit with Cupid's archer eye, sink an apple of his eye. So, the apple of his eye, your gloss tells you, it's the pupil. In other words, hit the bullseye. Cupid's love juice. When his love he doth espy. Now, what does that mean? When his love he doth espy. When his love he sees. Okay, well, what's going to come first? See, the way the love juice works is you don't fall in love until you see that person. But it is, the way Oberon puts it, that's reversed. When his love he sees. Oberon is telling us Demetrius really, truly loves Helena. He's just not aware of it right now. Okay? When Demetrius pledges his love for Hermia at the beginning of the play, what these lines from, I think, from Oberon imply is that he, at that point, is guilty of, to use the phrase Shakespeare uses, misprision. He's mistaking. Okay? He's going to come to his senses in a moment. So, when his love he doth espy, let her shine as glorious lie as the Venus of the sky. Let him see her as Venus. Now, who's Venus? What goddess is Venus? She's the goddess of romantic love. Let him see her, and the implication is worship her as goddess. Who's the her, though? Helena. When thou wakest, if she be by, beg of her remedy. Why? Why do you pray? Why do ancient Greeks, why did they pray to the gods? Why does any people, any culture, anywhere around the world ever pray to the gods? Remedy of some problem. Solution to a problem. She will be the solution. Okay? So, Puck comes in. He says, here comes Helena. Oh, and here also is the youth that I was mistaken by. And he says, shall we their fond pageant see? Fond pageant. Foolish like play. Puck is saying, look, so Demetrius is asleep, right? And he brings in Helena, and he's following the one that he mistook. And he says, oh, this is going to be good. Shall we watch? Lord, what fools these mortals be. Why are mortals fools? What motivates mortals? What do people do stupid things for? Love. Being guided not by reason, but by the passions. Or anger, hatred, just as good as a motivator. Lord, what fools these mortals be. Oberon, he says, stand aside. The noise they're making is going to make Demetrius wake. Which is good, right? Because Demetrius will see Helena, and he'll be in love with who he's supposed to be in love with. What's the problem? Lysander is also going to be in love with Helena. As Puck says, then will two at once woo one. That must needs be sport alone. That's good enough. We'll just have fun watching this, because that's what it means by sport. And entertainment to be observed. And those things do best please me that befall preposterously. Out of the natural order, your gloss preposterously means. How will this be preposterous? Well, it goes against, Puck is suggesting, the natural order for two men to love one woman. They didn't have thruples, in Shakespeare's day or in ancient Greece, so to speak. Or polyamory, as it's also called. You're going to get these two vying for her. Oh, this will be great. But that's not it. It's also that whole idea of the great chain of being. There's a natural order to things. And that order is one man, one woman, one man, but not two. Okay, so it's tied in with that. Lysander, why do you think I woo and scorn? He's asking Helen. Why do you think I'm playing a trick on you? Why do you think I'm not serious? He says, look, when I vow, I weep. Meaning, look, when I make a promise, when I make an oath to you, look at the tears. And vows so born in their nativity, all truth appears. If these kinds of vows produce these kinds of tears, you know they're true. She says, you do advance your cunning more and more when truth kills truth, O devilish holy fray. These vows are Hermia's. That is, all the things you are swearing to me, those are owed to Hermia. What does Helena deep down know? Same thing that Oberon knows about Demetrius deep down. She knows that Lysander's true love is who? Hermia. And Oberon knows Demetrius' true love deep down is Helena. Okay? Lysander. I had no judgment when to her I swore. I wasn't thinking right, he says, when I made oath to Hermia. Oh, so if he wasn't thinking right, then his argument essentially is, I can't be held to what I was saying or vowing. Hamlet's going to do the same thing, by the way, when we get to Hamlet. Hamlet is going to have the first use of insanity as a defense. I could not have killed so-and-so because it wasn't me. I was mad at the time. Not angry. Crazy. Lunatic, Hamlet is suggesting. So, he says, I had no judgment when to her I swore, nor none in my mind. Now you give. She's saying, you're not thinking rationally now, Lysander. So which is it? Demetrius loves her. Okay? So Demetrius loves Hermia. Let him have her. Which is exactly what, the father was arguing earlier. And he loves what you. Demetrius wakes up. Oh, Helen, goddess, nymph, perfect, divine. And the divine is the summation. Why? Because all goddesses are divine, all nymphs are divine, and perfection itself is divinity. Everything else that is not divine has some little flaw. To what, my love, shall I compare your eyes? And he goes on and starts comparing her. Oh, spite, oh, hell. I see you all are bent to set against me for your merriment. Who's the you all? Is it just these two? I mean, literally in this scene, they're the only two there. She goes on. If you were civil, that is, had civilized culture, civilized morality, and knew courtesy, you would not do me thus much injury. Well, where are they? They're in the wood. What's the wood represent? Everything that is the opposite of Athens. And Athens represents reason, law, order, morality, civilization, culture. So they're the place where there is no civility, there is no morality, there is no culture. She goes on. You would not use a gentle lady so to vow and swear and superpraise my parts, when I am sure you hate me with your arts. Why? Because Lysander, in her mind, loves Hermia, and Demetrius, in her mind, loves her. Why are you guys doing this? Okay? Lysander, you are unkind, Demetrius. Be not so. You love Hermia. This you know I know. And he says, and here, with all good will, with all my heart, in Hermia's love, I yield you up my part. Meaning, if I have Hermia's heart, it's yours. Demetrius, no, you keep Hermia. I don't want her at all. Why? If e'er I loved her, line 170, if e'er I loved her, all that love is gone. If before, or if ever, e'er can mean either of those. Okay? He says, my heart to her, but as guest-wise sojourned. Sojourned, traveled, went on a journey. He said, my heart to her was like when you go on a journey and you stop and you rest somewhere. You get a room for a night in a hotel. She was like the hotel for my heart for a while. When was that for a while? He's going to tell us later, when he was young. But now, to Helen is at home returned. Okay? What's he mean to a home returned? And what does he mean? His heart was but a guest with Hermia. He's not admitting anything yet. That comes later in Act 4, Scene 1. But he's saying my heart originally was where? Not with Hermia, with Helena. Remember what Lysander said to Aegeus and Theseus in Act 1, Scene 1? He is a spotted person, meaning tainted. Why? Because he made love to Nadar's daughter before the play even opened. My heart was originally with Helena, and now it's returned to her, there to remain. Why did it return? Is it just because the love juice? Look at Oberon's lines again. When his love he doth espy. Oberon is suggesting with those words, and there's critical discussion. Is it the words that are used when the love juice is put on that gives the power to the love juice? Because Oberon's words, we don't know what Puck says, really. We do what Oberon does. And Oberon implies, with these words, when you see your true love, I'm throwing in the word true, let her shine as gloriously. And now how does he talk about Helena? She's the light of the sky. Okay? Lysander, Helen, it is not so. That is, don't believe him. Right? Why does he say that? What did Helena want more than anything in the world when she went into the wood? She wants Demetrius to love her, and now he does. Lysander, don't believe him. He's lying. Disparage not the faith thou dost not know. What faith? What is Demetrius suggesting about Lysander's love for Helena? It's like his love for Hermia's was. You don't know what you're talking about, Lysander. Demetrius is saying this is, Princess Bride, true blade. This is real love. Lest to thy peril thou abide it, dear. Look where thy love comes. And in comes Helena. In comes Hermia. Okay? Hermia. Dark night that from the eye his function takes. In other words, the function of the eye is to be able to see, and when it's dark night, you can't see anything. The ear more quick of apprehension makes, that is, I heard your voices, and I found Lysander. Notice she doesn't talk about Demetrius, she doesn't talk about Helena. She heard Lysander's voice. But why unkindly, 183, didst thou leave me so? Unkindly. Two meanings. Not nicely, like being unkind, and against nature. Unnaturally. Why did you leave me so? What does she mean by that second meaning? The unkindly. It's against nature, she's suggesting, for Lysander to go after Helena. In order for nature, the great chain of being, to be properly arranged, Lysander should have his Hermia, Hermia her Lysander. Lysander. Okay, because she addressed him, Lysander replies, why should he stay whom love doth press to go? What does that mean, the press to go part? We'll talk about love in just a moment. Motivates, moves, wills. Notice what's doing the action on the will. Love. Not what? Reason. See? She, by suggesting unkindly he left her, that being against order or against nature, that's also against reason. Natural law ideas. All right? Why should he stay whom love presses to go? Presses. I was forced. That's a use of the word press that we don't really use today, but it's pretty common, or was pretty common, used in England. Back in the 17th, 18th, 19th, late 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, when England would get ready to go to war, and they needed to get sailors to man their naval vessels, okay? They did what's called pressing, where a couple of big burly naval officers would go into towns. They moor the ship, send men into the towns, they go into the pubs and whorehouses and such, and they would impress young men. That is, bind them, capture them, tie them up, take them to the ship, and only release them once they were out of port. You were pressed into the Navy at that point. And you were there for as long as the battle. Okay? It's that kind of language that's being used here. Love pressed me to do that. She says, what love could press Lysander from my side? And what she's asking by that is, what kind of love would do this? Not true love. Why? Because they have already uttered vows to each other. I will love you, they each say to the other before they fall asleep, the end of Act 2, till when? Until I die. Well, they're not dead yet. Lysander says, what love? Lysander's love, that would not let him bide. Fair Helena, who more engilds the night than all yon fiery O's and eyes of light. What does it mean, engilds? It means to gild. What does it mean to gild something? There's a phrase no longer used in English, hasn't been common for at least 100 years, to gild the lily. A lily is a white flower. Why would you gild a lily? Gild means to encase it in gold, like gold plated, to make it worth something more. Or to do what? To draw the eye to it. He goes on, why are you seeking me? Could not this make thee know the hate I bear thee made me leave thee so? Haven't I not been clear? I hate you. You speak not as you think. It cannot be. What does she mean? You speak not as you think. I think there's two meanings. One, you don't know what you're saying. That is, your words mean something different than what you think they mean. Or two, you don't mean it. You're not serious. Which plays into Helena's thing about they're all playing a trick on me. Helena, she is one of this confederacy. You're all in on it. Now I perceive they have conjoined all three to fashion this false sport in spite of me. And then she turns on Hermia. Why? We've always been best friends. And she gets a long speech about all the things they would do together. Hermia, what the hell? I'm amazed at your passion. I scorn you not. It seems you scorn me. What do you mean? Helena, have you not set Lysander as in scorn to follow me and praise my eyes? You didn't put him onto this? And you didn't put your other love, Demetrius, onto this also? To call me goddess, nymph, divine, and rare, etc., etc.? She finishes. What though I be not so in grace as you, so hung upon with love so fortunate, but miserable most to love unloved? I not be so in grace as you, as you're getting all the gifts. Another word for grace is gift, a gift of God, totally unearned. She says, you are the most full of grace. Why? Because you have his love in his love. And you're pretending that they love me. No, you should pity me rather than despise. Why? Because I love Helena and am unloved by the one I love. Hermia, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. What do you mean? Oh yeah, go ahead, persever, that is, keep going, counterfeit, pretend, sad looks, make mouths upon me when I turn my back, that is, whisper, talk about me behind my back. Wink at each other. No, go ahead. This sport, well carried, meaning carried to its conclusion. This little game you guys are playing at shall be chronicled. If you have any pity, grace, or manners, you would not make such an argument. You would not go about this plot. Why? Fare ye well. Now, fare ye well means, may you be blessed in your travels and all that you do. Fare ye well. 'Tis partly my own fault. That is, I'm partly to blame for what is happening here. but which death or absence shall soon remedy. That is, I'm going to pay for my own fault in this in one of two ways: by death or absence. What does that come across as? What does that sound like? I'm either going to leave or I'm going to kill myself. Goes back to Hermia's words when she woke up and could not find Lysander. She will either absent herself or die immediately. Lysander, stay, gentle Helena. Stop. Don't do it. Hear my excuse. Hear me. Let me explain. My love, my life, my soul. Excellent. Does excellent mean, yes, finally? No, because she doesn't want Lysander. She means, really? You're still going on? Hermia to Lysander, stop. Don't scorn her so. See, Hermia understands now Helena's perspective. She thinks he's taking her on, that he's pouring gasoline on the fire. Demetrius, if she cannot entreat, I can compel. That is, if she, Hermia, cannot entreat you enough to stop scorning, playing a joke on Helena, I can compel you. Let's fight. Quit picking on my girl, is essentially what Demetrius is saying. Lysander, no, you can't. You want to fight? Come on, let's take it outside. I mean, they are outside, but you get the idea, okay? So, Lysander says, let's leave. Let's go fight. Hermia, to what purpose? Whereto tends all this? What's going to be the result? In other words, I think Hermia is going, okay, guys, you've carried it a bit too far. How are you going to end this practical joke? You going to end up in bed with Helena? And she makes a move towards Lysander. And he says, away, you Ethiop. Now, you got a gloss for Ethiop, referring to her relatively dark hair. It's not relatively dark, it's black. It should be black, okay? And her dark complexion. Probably, even though Ethiop refers to Ethiopia, okay, sub-Saharan African, very dark black skin, there's other indications that that her complexion as described probably refers to North African complexion, like a modern day Egyptian or Libyan or Moroccan. Moroccan, a little bit darker than an Egyptian, but not white like us, see? Or like me. The Renaissance conception of beauty, of whiteness, is this white. I could go around every white person in this room. None of us are this white. Why? Nobody is this white. Every image that survives, painting, of Queen Elizabeth, she's this white. Because she powdered her face every time she was in public. This was the ideal of beauty. But it's what? What kind of white is this? Compared to this. This is real. This is artificial. I couldn't make my face this white. I could come in with white face paint or powdered sugar. It's thought by some that the white powder that she had on her face was powdered sugar. We know she loved sugar because her teeth were all rotted. We hear stories about that, right? That the image of the false painting, the falsely adorned woman is going to come up again in here and also in Hamlet. So, Lysander tries to break away from Hermia, and Demetrius says, no, he'll seem to break loose. Take on as you would follow, but come not. You're a tame man. Go. Lysander, stop, Hermia, because she's just holding on to him. Hang off, thou cat, thou burr. Cat doesn't mean like a leopard, or tiger, or lion. It means like cat, like the pitty sing on Bailey's neck. Small animal. Burr. A little sticky thorn thing that just kind of, aggravates. Okay? Vile thing let loose. She goes, why are you crying? What? Explain. Thy love, out tawny tartar. Okay? Another gloss down there. No, there's not another gloss there. Again, it's a kind of a description of her appearance. The Tartars were darker skinned people who came over from Asia into Europe during the Middle Ages, early Middle Ages. Outloathed medicine, she's asked, you're jesting, right? Do you not jest? He says, yes, and so do you. He said, come on, Demetrius, let's go fight. Demetrius, oh, come on. You're letting her hold you back. You're stronger than this. Lysander, what? Should I hurt her, strike her, kill her dead? Is that what you want me to do? You want me to kill Hermia so I can go off in a clearing and fight you? Although I hate her, I'm not going to harm her. Why not? Because he's noble, he's honorable, he's all those kinds of things we talked about with the word gentle. Hermia, you're not going to harm me? What greater harm than hate? Am not I Hermia, are not you Lysander? What is meant by that? Think of it this way. It's like she's saying, aren't I Juliet to your Romeo? Aren't I Guinevere to your Lancelot? Aren't I, name all the famous lovers in history? She says, we are meant for each other. Lysander says, no, 'tis no jest that I do hate thee and love Helena. Which causes Hermia to then look at Helena. Oh, you juggler, you cankerblossom, you thief of love, have you come by night and stolen my love's heart from him? Remember the vision, the dream she had. Helena, what? Have you no modesty, no shame? You, and she finishes her little speech, you counterfeit, you puppet, counterfeit, as in pretender, imposter. You puppet, another word meaning for puppet. You dwarfish woman, your gloss tells you. Okay? Poppet is a term of endearment for a young girl or a girl in her teens. And it's related to puppet. It's the same word essentially as puppet. But what else is a puppet? It's something you can manipulate with your hand. You can wear a hand puppet, so therefore it's small, or you can use a marionette like with a puppet. It's still small. Notice what Hermia gets from that. Puppet? Oh, so that's it. She's made compare between our statures. Did she? Is that what Helena meant by calling her a puppet? I don't think so. I think Helena calls her a puppet because she thinks Hermia is being manipulated by these two. In other words, she's part of the Confederacy, as she already said. Helena is saying that, okay? That Hermia is being manipulated, she's part of the Confederacy. Hermia, however, takes puppet to have the other meaning and says, oh, okay, now I get it. She's made compare between our stature. She's urged her height and with her personage, her tall personage, her height forsooth, she hath prevailed with them. Why? Why does Hermia come back to this? We're getting a of psychological background here on Hermia's part. She's got a massive chip on her shoulder, like the size of the Rock of Gibraltar. And that chip is called, I'm short. And Helena is tall. Okay? So she goes on, so how high are you in his esteem? Because I am so dwarfish. Did anybody say she was a dwarf? No, but it is going to come up later now that she mentioned it. So dwarfish, so low. How low am I, thou painted maypole? The painted maypole doesn't mean this pole that literally has paint applied to it. The painted part is the decorations on the maypole that are used, then you have these streamers and people march around it as parts of the rites of love. She's talking about Helena having a false beauty, makeup. Shakespeare uses this image in many of his plays and a lot of the sonnets, that unattractive women can be made attractive through makeup. Thank God they did not have plastic surgery in Shakespeare's day, because he would have just ripped. I was telling my first class, don't have time for it, but I'll tell you too. Doing something on the internet the other day, a pop-up ad or something, and it showed Meg Ryan, who was the darling girl of all the rom-coms in the late to mid 80s and early 90s. Why? Because she was just dadgum cute. Blonde hair, perfect nose, perfect face and everything. She's my age. And she had plastic surgery a few years ago to try to look like she did in 1986. Doesn't work. It doesn't work because it's like she has plastic plastered to her face. The smile's painted maypole, okay? And so she jumps at Helena, wants to scratch her eyes out. Helena begs for help from the others, okay? Talks to her again, says we've always been friends. And we get language about her being small, again, all throughout on page 1215, from 305 down to the bottom of the page, okay? Eventually, Lysander leaves. Why? 337 or so, because he and Demetrius are going to fight for Helena's hand. Demetrius goes off after him. Hermia says, I don't trust you. Helena says, I don't trust you. They both leave, and Oberon steps forward with Puck. This is thy negligence. Negligence is always intentional. Negligent homicide means the homicide wasn't entirely an accident, okay? Still thou mistakes, still means always, constantly thou mistakes. You screw up. Or you do it willfully. So which is it, Puck? Accident or intentional? Puck. Accident. You said Athenian garments. Guess what? Lysander had on Athenian garments, man. Wasn't my fault. He goes, and you know what? I'm glad. Why? Because they're jangling. I esteem a sort of sport. They're jangling. They should be in love. They should be in love. And now it's all screwed up. They're arguing. They're fighting. He says, it's what? Oh, man. This is the greatest, spectator entertainment there is. He says, here's what I want you to do. Arrange them. Make the sky, make it go dark. Arrange them so that Lysander and Hermia fall asleep near each other. Demetrius and Helena fall asleep near each other. He says, crush this herb into Lysander's eye. And what will that herb do? It'll make him fall out of love with Helena and see Hermia as he should see. In other words, it's like eye drops to clear the crud in his eyes so that he loves as he ought to. Because Demetrius does love as he ought to. Notice, nothing gets done to Helena. Why not? Because Helena said, just before she left, lines 3, 17 and following, she says, to Athens will I bear my folly back and follow you no further. She's going to leave her love behind with Demetrius. Okay, we'll stop there. Sorry, did not mean to take so long. And did not get as far as I meant to.